Hey, welcome back to Max Nave Horsemanship and Baby Steps. And yeah, we got a baby today, not like yesterday where we started off with an adult horse, but there was a reason for that. And that part of the video there, I was talking about how each horse is different. And well, I also mentioned that we'd been working on the side pass a little bit with this one, and very little. And we ran into some difficulties because not every horse is the same. They're all different. And if you watched yesterday's video, you will also have seen when I trailered that little paint, I inserted a segment from another video with one of my own horses where he walked into the trailer. Trailer loaded quite well. And actually he did get better. Unfortunately, I also sold that horse. I'm regretting that one. He was a very good horse. However, he wasn't always the best to train because in some respects he was very similar to this one. You could almost break a 2x4 over his head to get his attention some days. He just wasn't very sensitive. At least he didn't seem that way, not when it came to training. And well, we kind of run into a very similar problem with this one. And I'm going to show you what we ended up having to do because it was very different than what you saw me doing with the paint. I showed you that one, how we just touched her on the side with our fingers and she moved over. Well, sometimes it works that way. Quite often it works that way, but not always. And sometimes you got to get a little bit forceful. And I don't like doing it, and with some horses, I end up having to do it a lot more than I want to. A lot more than I even feel comfortable doing, which actually was the extent we got to with this one. Things got pretty rough. Well, I thought so. Some people wouldn't think so, but I do. I didn't like it. And I have a motto that it's kind of a mentality in how I do things. And another guy, I've watched quite a few of his videos, excellent horseman. I think we're on the same path. His saying is, you be as gentle as possible and as firm as necessary, which I think is pretty much lines up with the way I do things. And my motto, my wording is, you use as much force as necessary, but no more than necessary. And of course, with all things, you try and be fair and gentle, but you have to be firm. That's part of being fair, actually. A lot of people don't understand that. They don't realize that, you know, being firm with a horse is actually being fair. Some people think that's being mean and they think spoiling the horse is being fair. No, horses like rules. Now, I'm going to show you what we were doing with this one because you've seen me do it with the other one. She's not paying attention, so I'm just going to, hello, dear, thank you. That's one of those things I don't like doing, but I will if I have to, is a little bump on the halter just to get their attention and make sure they're looking at me and not everything else that's going on around them. It's important that the horse is focused on you, otherwise you're wasting your time if it's not paying attention to what you're asking or what you're doing. And, oh, okay, I see why she's suddenly concerned with over that way, because the horses went around the back side of the barn. They're over in the other pasture now. It's okay. Pay attention to me, not them. I'm more important than they are at the moment. And I need to show you this. And quick weather report. We're going to make this a pretty short video because I see big black clouds heading this way again, because it was raining pretty good earlier today. There you can see quite a few blue skies over there. Don't be fooled. There's big black ones over there and there's big black ones over there. We're just in between. And so I took advantage of that today because I knew there was a good chance we were going to have some rain today. And so I'm taking advantage of a break in the weather to come out here and do this. And in spite of the fact the sun is shining, which really helps, when I first came out here it wasn't. It was behind a cloud. And because of the high humidity from the rain, and it's not particularly hot today, it actually made it fairly cool. And fortunately though, that sun's come out and now all of a sudden I'm getting warm. There's no happy medium around here. Oh well. Anyhow, I'll show you what we're doing. I'm just going to back up a little bit from the camera. I'm going to have to come in closer in a minute to show you what we were doing. But one of the things I was having a problem with her is I'd ask her to move over, and normally with the other one I'd just touch her on the side, and then when she moved, see, she's moving her front end with the back end. Okay, she's getting better. She actually moved 1 foot that time. But to begin with, in order to get her to move the back end, I had to employ my stick. Now, this is not something that is a no-no. You can do this anytime you want. You can use it for cueing the horse in many different ways by touching it with it or tapping on it. Well, we had to do more than a little tapping. We actually had to, in order to get her to move her back end over while controlling the head with the lead or a halter, we started tapping, and that didn't do anything. As you can see, even now it's not. Oh, she is. Okay. We had to tap pretty darn hard. Now, I don't want to repeat it because it's apparently not necessary anymore to get that firm. In fact, the last time I was working with her, I wasn't even using the stick at all. But I had to show you what we did. We had to actually get to the point, we were tapping quite hard, to the point of, might have even been more than tapping for some people. I'm sure a lot of people would have considered it a little more than tapping. I try not, but like I said, back to my philosophy is use as much force as necessary, but no more than necessary. And the whole time I'm watching the back feet, and the minute she would take a step over, I'd stop immediately because I didn't like doing it anyhow. And she needs to learn that when this comes up and touches her, she has to move over. And, oh, look at that. Way better. Way better already. Very good. I'm impressed. That was a huge change because even yesterday she wasn't that good. And we've only done this a couple times with her, very little. And once we quit using the stick, okay, stick's gone now. Back to what we were doing. Now what we did with the other one is we just touch her with our fingers. This one we actually had to push fairly hard to get her to move over. Well, today she's going to probably do it a little better. Good girl. Back in, there we go, finally moved over. Actually, that's much better than yesterday, because yesterday we had to push a lot firmer. And this is where you, like I said, you get as firm as you absolutely have to. And when you're just touching with the fingertips, well, it doesn't give you a lot of force, even if you're pushing straight in with your fingertips. You only got so much. Yesterday I actually had to take it a step further, and I was using my thumb. I actually made a fist like this. I'll get a little closer to the camera so you can see. I was making a fist with my thumb on top, and I was pushing my thumb into her rib cage to get her to move, to get her to respond in any way, shape, or form. I don't like getting that rough with a horse or that forceful, but that was what was necessary. And that's why I say, every horse is different. They're all different, and that's why it's just wonderful that, excuse me, dear, you move over. There, thank you. And that's why it's wonderful that we've got more than one to work with right now, so that I can show you these things, because these two are extremely different. And, you know, there's things that she has been very good with, actually better than the other one, and then other things that she's much worse with. And all in all, I think she's going to be a fine little horse. I don't see a downside. You know, she's got lots going for her. You know, they're just different. That's all there is to it. And yours is going to be different too. And I keep trying to emphasize that, because I don't want people getting false expectations because they watch somebody else work with a horse and they get a certain result doing a certain thing, and that doesn't work for them. Well, that's because your horse is different, and you need to do something slightly different, maybe quite a bit different. As with this one here, the first one, I barely touched her with my fingers. This one, I had to swat her with the stick to get her to move her backside over, because she'd move the front, but she would not move the back. And I even tried pressing with my fingers into the flank area, all kinds of stuff. Nothing worked. And it's like, okay, got to step it up a little. And that's when I resorted to my stick, and I started tapping her on the back. And that didn't go really good at first either. Even that, she wouldn't respond to it. She'd kick at it. Fortunately, I was standing up here at the time, so that back leg is nowhere near me, and I had the lead very short as well, so that she couldn't spin around and get me, although I don't think she realized that I was what was causing what was going on back there. She may not have realized that. So she didn't connect the two. Good thing. But horses can connect stuff. Don't be surprised. So I had to show you that one because it was so very different. And she is quite a bit different than the other horse. And that's better. And, you know, you're going to have to do things different with yours. Guaranteed. You know, I don't want you being disappointed because you tried something you saw and it didn't work with your horse. Because your horse isn't the same as the ones I'm working with, even though I got more than one here. And it's not the same as any other horse. And, you know, your situation, your skill level, the tools you have available, there's so many variables. You're going to have to do stuff a little bit different. At one point, I owned 4 horses of my own. They were all trained to do exactly the same things. And we did lots of liberty work, really cool stuff. But I had to teach each and every one of them differently, just because of the differences in their personalities. There was one particular event that I taught. The one took a week to learn it, and I was working with her every single day. It took her a week to catch on. Another one, actually that gray mare of mine, she learned the exact same thing in about 5 minutes. That's the difference. Does that make her any better than the other? No, because the other one could actually do stuff better than her. There were certain things she could do better. So they're just all different. No two are alike, and no two are going to create the exact same problems for you, and no two are going to give you the same results. So please do not get discouraged if you don't see things working the same as they worked for me. Because even for me, sometimes things don't work that good. And, well, let's see what happens again. I'm going to try this again and see what happens. And I think she's already figured out what's coming, because I haven't even touched her yet, and she's already moving over. Well, she's got her nose on my hand. That makes me worried. Okay, there we go. Very good. I just had to touch her lightly with my fingers. I still got my hand here. She's moving over. Oh, this is working very well today. Very, very good. I'm impressed. Well, see, there you go. Well, there's another example of one day things are just horrible, barely work at all, and then all of a sudden the next day they work fantastic. And I didn't do anything between yesterday and today, and the difference between yesterday and today is amazing. I mean, for me, I see this stuff all the time, and it still impresses the heck out of me when I see this kind of progression take place, where all of a sudden, from one day to the next, it's just, you wouldn't know it was the same horse, the way she responds. So very impressive. And you also, another difference between those two is, and you know, temperament-wise, that little Paint, she's actually a real sweetheart to work with in most cases. But you saw how long it took me to get her to side up to the mounting block. Well, it wasn't a horribly long time, but this one did it in a fraction of the time. And even though her send isn't very good yet, and she's actually kind of nervous about stuff, and when I was trying to get her turn it around to line her up with the mounting block, she was getting really worried. And yet, when she finally figured out what I wanted, man, she does it way better than the other one. And yet, there's other things she doesn't do. You know, they're just that different. And the things that you don't expect turn out really good. The things you expect don't turn out so good. You saw in a recent video where, you know, she walked over the tarp. I wasn't planning on doing it that day because I didn't think she was anywhere ready for it. You know, just because of her personality and her level of training that she's got right now. I didn't think the tarp was something that she would be prepared for. But she did it no problem, at Liberty, if I recall right, which was not something that the other one did. So, and yet, when it comes to my flag or my lunge whip or even the lead rope, she's terrified. Not so bad with the lead rope, but my flag, man, this poor little horse just about has a heart attack when I wave that thing. And so I got to be very careful. I still got lots to do with desensitizing to that. But she's sensitive enough and smart enough when it comes to asking her to move that I don't need to use it. So for the moment, until she gets a little more used to it, I don't use it because I don't want her having a meltdown. Let's see what we can get going today. Look at that. See how easy that was? And she is not particularly well trained in that department. And yet, she's doing it. And oh, that was another thing she did quite well the other day is I asked her to come to me. And on the lead, of course. You know, it's just the beginning of something we started at with her. And she actually did it quite well. Oh, back up. I didn't ask you to come forward. You know, you just stay back there. Thank you. As again, a perfect example, you've got to constantly correct the horse. If it does something you don't want it to do, you immediately have to put it back. Immediately. Don't wait. No, she just did it again. I'm going to put her back. And then pretty soon she'll realize, you know what, there's no point in taking a step forward when I'm not supposed to, because I'm just going to get put back. And I'm not being mean about it. I'm not getting upset with her or nothing. I just want her to back up where she was. Right there is where I want her to stay. That's where she's supposed to be. And now, I'm going to step back a little bit, and I'm going to ask her to come to me and see what happens. Nope, she just took a step forward again, and I'm going to make her take 2 steps back. It's one of those principles, whoa, you're doing it again. You're going to get in trouble. If what you do is more than what they do, then they're going to really reconsider. Now I'm seeing those big black clouds heading this way, and I want to get this done before they show up. Get back in somewhere where there's a roof over my head and I'm not going to get drenched, because when it decides to rain, it can rain pretty good sometimes, and it was doing that earlier. That's why if you look around, it didn't actually, looking at the amount of water in the puddles, I don't think it actually rained a whole lot. It wasn't as bad as I thought. When it first started to rain, it was raining fairly good, but I think it was kind of on and off and on and off kind of a thing. And it was coming down slow enough that a lot of it was soaking in too. It was kind of nice. It's a good rain. Anyhow, we're going to see if she'll come to me. I don't know how well. This actually worked not bad yesterday, but let's see. You going to come to me, dear? Come. Wow. That was pretty impressive. I didn't cluck. I didn't pull on the lead. I just held out my head and said, come. That was pretty darn good. And yesterday was actually the first time she'd done that. And that's about almost how good she did it yesterday. Very similar. I was quite surprised. That's why I just did it again just now. I just wanted you to see the differences in horses. You know, this is something that she does amazingly well. And I don't know why, because she's really nervous about a lot of stuff. But when I ask her to do certain things, no problem. Get your nose off my hand. Thank you. I don't trust her. Actually, I don't trust any horse with their mouth right on my hand like that, because especially the younger ones, they investigate similar to a toddler. Everything goes in the mouth, and they might end up biting me. Not meaning anything by it other than investigation. They're just checking out to see what this thing is. But you don't want to get bit, not even lightly. They got very powerful jaws. The jaw is actually hinged way back here. Their jaw is that long. All the way from back about there, all the way to the end. That's how long their jaw is. And it's actually quite powerful. I have been bitten before in the past. I didn't even know the horse. I just happened to walk by its stall. It lunged out and bit me on the back of the arm. Fortunately, I happened to be wearing a leather jacket with a sweatshirt underneath it at the time, and it still broke the skin. That's how hard they can bite. And they don't have sharp canine teeth. They have teeth for eating grass, rather blunt teeth. So that's how hard they can bite. From the elbow to the shoulder, that whole section of arm was black and blue for about a week due to that. Thank you very much. But it was a lesson, and I knew very little about horses at the time. Actually, I knew darn near nothing about horses at that time when that happened. But I have since then learned how to be careful around horses, how not to get hurt. Now, does it mean you'll never get hurt? Goodness, no. Especially when it comes to things like getting stepped on. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. It's going to happen. I've mentioned that before. I guarantee it. I've been stepped on a few times. And it's a couple times by my own horses. And it wasn't anything mean. They weren't trying to step on me. You know, the one time I was just scratching them, and I was standing a little too close, and he leaned into the scratch and stepped on my foot in the process. Didn't mean a thing by it. He was just trying to enjoy the scratch a little better. And I was doing that, so that when it comes right down to it, it was my fault. You know, I've always said if you get stepped on, your foot shouldn't have been there. It's your own fault. Don't blame the horse. And the other thing that happened one other time, in fact, with that gray mare, she was out beside a feeder, and when I went out to go get her, I noticed another horse close by, and I usually chase the other horse away because you got to be careful. It's not your own horse you got to worry about, it's the other one. And so I chased the other horse away, and I put the halter on her, and before I got a chance to put the lead on, while I was on the other side of her, you know, I was on the typical. It's the way stuff works with halters and stuff. You do it all up on the left side of the horse, right? Well, that's where I was. And she's big enough, I couldn't see what was on the other side of her. And that darn horse that I just chased off had moved back in. And it was a little bit more dominant of a horse than mine. And when it moved in, my horse stepped sideways to get away from it, protecting her own backside. That's all she was doing. And when she moved over, she stepped on my foot and slammed me into the feeder. Oh, I got a few bruises. They went away. And I didn't get mad about it because it wasn't her fault. She was just doing what a horse naturally does. It protects itself. And this is something I haven't mentioned before, but I probably should, is you think, oh, my horse loves me. No. Love is a human emotion. Horses are not capable of love. They might like you, and they might be loyal to you, but if it comes down to the crunch, and there's a choice to be made between them or you lose. And I've had people say, you know, they like riding a slightly spooky horse because if there's a bear around or something, it's going to take off and save you. No, it's not. It's going to take off, dump you on the ground, and leave you to get your ass eaten by the bear, and it save itself. That's what's going to happen. And, well, personally, I'd rather have a horse that doesn't freak out over stuff like that, and that way I can go, okay, there's a bear, let's calmly get the heck out of here. With me on you, not on the ground, because I don't want to get eaten by the bear. And to this day, I'm still here. No bears have gotten me. So anyhow, I'm not sure there's much else I can show you today. I haven't done a whole lot of new stuff, even with this one. Come on. What a good girl. There, good girl. Wow. Like I said, they're all different. You just never know what you're going to get. Holy smokes. I'm impressed. This little horse has been doing very good in certain areas. In fact, much better than I have expected in certain areas. Like I said, you know, and you saw it. You saw me have her step up to the mounting block in my last video. Or was that the one before? I can't remember now. But maybe it was the one before. Yeah, it was the one before that. I get confused. It was a long weekend, okay? It was 3 days. I get confused. I usually only do this 2 days. Anyhow, you saw her, if you're watching my videos, you saw her side up to the mounting block for me. And prior to turning on the camera, we'd only done that once or twice, and it just went that quick. It was just, I wasn't even thinking about it when I started doing it. I shouldn't have done it without the camera on in the first place. And I also did not expect it to go that fast. You know, it was just absolutely amazing how well it worked with her. So, but then again, that other one, she went in the trailer pretty good too, didn't she, yesterday? Yeah, you saw that one. So, I don't know what this one's going to be like because we haven't gotten there yet. And noticing things with her. Now this is where I always say, take things one step at a time, do things in order to a certain extent. There is a little common sense to the order that you do things. And I kind of figure, she's not quite ready for the trailer yet, but you know what? The way she's been doing certain things, I don't know, maybe she is ready for the trailer. Maybe I could have her in the trailer pretty quick. I don't know. And but I don't want to try it too soon and have her get upset and worried and freaked out and that sort of thing. So, she did come here in a trailer. So did the other one. But I don't think either one of them had particularly good experiences because they were both completely untrained and pretty much unhandled at that point. And the way they were coerced into the trailer, I don't know, I wasn't there. I don't know what took place. But it could have easily been a traumatic experience for them. Just from what I was told, the little paint came out of the trailer with a bloody nose. Her very first experience in a trailer, she gets bopped around. Not good. Well, I don't want that kind of stuff to happen. That's why I haven't even considered trying to trailer this one yet. But at the rate she's going, I'm starting to think, you know what? Maybe, just maybe. I think I've actually shown you quite a bit with this one. I've showed you how she sends, how she backs up, how she leads. Well, you just saw her come. I showed you her working in the mounting block. I even showed you a few things when it comes to desensitizing with her. And that is something that we definitely are going to have to do more of. Because those are things that, well, I don't want her being overreactive to that stuff. And like I said when I was talking about desensitizing a few videos back, it's not about the individual items. It's all the similar things that they could represent, that they might be the same as. And you want the horse good with the flag so that the day that you unbutton your coat and it starts flapping in the breeze, because it's a hot day, the horse doesn't freak out on you. And that applies even if you're on the ground, if you aren't even up to riding it. It doesn't matter. Either way, you still want a horse that's going to be okay with that stuff. You don't want a horse that's going to have a meltdown over every little thing. And many of the things don't bother her, which is really kind of interesting. Like I said, walking her around the yard, I have taken this one for the very first time around the yard a lot further than I have with the other one. That little paint, I've had to, very, very slowly, I've had her around the yard several times, and each time I'd go a tiny bit further, but I'm reading her the whole time and seeing, okay, she's starting to get a little tense here, let's not go any further, let's not push it. That's where, you got to be paying attention to the horse and what the horse can handle so that you don't exceed their limits. Because, even if you watched my video yesterday where I was trailing her, I was constantly watching her to make sure she didn't get too upset with what we were doing. Because there's a lot of stuff going on. There's different footing, an enclosed space. It's not just the horse going in the trailer. There's a lot of stuff going on there. And you got to be careful. And if you make that a bad experience, man, you are going to be having problems, guaranteed. And that's why we've never done it with this one, because we don't know that she's ready for sure. Although the way things are going, who knows, she might be. But, you're going to have to figure this stuff out for yourself too. This isn't just stuff I do. This is stuff that you have to do too. Pay attention to the horse. Figure out what is a reasonable next step. How far can you go? And what's too much? What's not enough? There are days where, like yesterday, we did a couple different things with her, and she was so good. I don't think we did much more than a half hour with her. There's other days we might do an hour or even two. I have with that paint, there have been several days where she's just so easy to work with sometimes that I completely lose track of time. And I have spent up to 2 hours with her, which is too much. That's too much. I shouldn't have done that. But it was easy to happen. So there's no rules. You don't have to have a certain amount of time. and you don't want to overdo it. And sometimes you can accomplish a lot in just a few minutes, as we did yesterday with this one. And so I called her quits after a half an hour because things were just going so darn well. And I was so happy with the results that we were getting. We did a couple of things in that period of time, but we only did each one once or twice. And it was all stuff you've seen. You know, you're not missing nothing. I've showed you this stuff. We worked on the side pass. We had her come to us, and we did the mounting block. That's it. That's all we did yesterday. And we only did each one a couple of times. We only spent maybe a half hour with her. Was that enough? Sure. Because we don't want her to get in stress. We want her to think that, you know, hanging out with me and doing stuff, that's perfectly okay. There was one horse I worked with. That horse looked forward to spending time with me. He was a little bit odd. Nice guy, though. Super nice guy. But it was like every day he wanted to learn something new. He was excited to come into the arena with me and do something, anything. And if he was at the other end of the arena when I walked in the door at the other end, and I said, "How you doing, buddy? Come on over here," he would run to me. It kind of scared me a few times, but my own horses aren't that excited to see me. It wasn't even my horse. It was just one I'd been working with a little bit. But that's what you want. You want the horse to look forward to the time it spends with you. You know, not to go, "Oh crap, here comes that human again that's going to be a pain in the butt." But still, occasionally you have to do things that you don't really like doing and don't seem like something you should do. But one of the beautiful things about horses, this is one of the things I really like about horses, they don't take stuff personal. To them, it's all information, and it's not personal. You know, just because I'm bumping her to get her to pay attention doesn't mean she's going to be offended by me. Does she look offended? Good girl. There we go. Yeah, I know those other jokers are over there. You don't need to look that way. You can just stay here. Nice little girl. Yes, you are. You're a nice little girl. She's got scratches on her here and there and every. I don't know how they do it. Get away from me. You know, I don't have any other tools with me. I do have my lead rope, don't I? Yeah, don't crowd me. Just pay attention. That's better. Rubbing up against you, that's something that a baby would do with the mare. Things like that. It is not something that any other horse would allow or tolerate. Another horse would have probably up and kicked her for that. So don't tolerate it. Don't allow it. It is only very isolated situations where things like that even happen in nature or are tolerated. And like I said, it's, you know, with a baby and mama. That's about it. And even mama will get to the point where, you know, she's not going to tolerate baby shenanigans anymore. And I don't know how many videos you've watched. I encourage you to watch a few. But mama can be a great teacher. And I watched one time where baby was just playing, much younger, only a couple months old, maybe a month old, I don't know. Wasn't very old. And just playing, it kicked mama. Now, it didn't mean nothing by it, but mama says, no, 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 that don't fly. Mama swung around and kicked baby. Now, mama was very careful about how she kicked baby, and only kicked baby hard enough to make a point. Didn't even knock the baby off her feet. So it didn't hurt it. A lot of people, I saw comments on that video and go, "Oh, what a mean horse that was." They didn't realize that was the mother, or at least we think it was. We don't know. You know, that little baby shouldn't be in with that horse. Well, I'm sure if that baby was in with that horse, it must have been the mama, because that baby was way too young to be weaned. So there's no way it was another horse. It had to be mama. But mama didn't take no crap. Mama said, no, no, you're not going to behave that way, and we're not going to tolerate it. Now, the next time in that same video, after mama kicked him once, baby went around, and mama reaffirmed the point and just swung her tail around towards the baby and says, "You want another one?" And baby says, "Heck no," and baby scooted away. Mama made her point, and the baby learned. So, and that was a very, very young baby, much younger than these. So they can start learning very, very young, and other horses will teach them. And it was interesting, the very first day she got here, well, actually, for a couple days, they kept her in the round pen and carried water into her and stuff like that. Then they let her out into the pasture, and immediately that big gelding, I don't understand this one. Usually it's the mares that do it, but for some reason that gelding, he just took it upon himself. That's his. That's his baby. And he's been the patriarch. That's her protector, her educator, and he'll occasionally give her what's for if she doesn't behave properly around him, but she's very, very bonded to him and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of strange stuff that takes place in nature that you don't realize. And there's an old saying when it comes to humans, it takes a village to raise a child. And well, I know you might not understand what that means, but all these different people have influence, and all these different people, when they see the child and the child does something, they're going to correct it. Well, at least that's the way it used to be. Nowadays you get in trouble for it, but yeah, we'll pretend that still applies. And the same is true of horses. You take a baby, put it out in a herd, even if mama isn't there, that herd is going to teach that horse how to behave. And if it gets out of line, they're going to correct it. If it gets pushy, no, they're going to say, no, that doesn't fly here. You don't do that. There's rules. Even in the wild, even in a domestic herd of fairly untrained horses, we'll call them feral horses, not wild, but feral. No, that's not quite right. But anyhow, untrained horses, there's rules. Those horses have rules. So what you're doing is nothing weird. You're just giving the horse information, teaching it rules. The horse doesn't really mind, and they don't take offense to it. And like I said, that's one of the beautiful things about horses is horses don't take offense. If it really needs a good correction, and you got to get real firm with it, you know what? That horse isn't going to be offended by that. And I can tell right now she wants to scratch her nose on her leg, and she's going, can I please have my head? I want to scratch on that leg down there. But she's not doing it. There's a couple times she started to move her head a little bit and immediately brought it back up because she knew that wasn't right. She had to pay attention to me because you'll notice while we were talking, I corrected her a couple times, and you'll notice now she's paying attention. She didn't take it personal. She's not offended by it. It's just information that says, no, that's not what the rules are around here. And horses like rules. And something I haven't mentioned before that's very important is, you think you're being a bully and bossy and everything else. No, horses like rules. It gives structure to their life. They aren't in a state of flux where they don't know where the heck they stand. They have boundaries. They have rules. They like that stuff because then they know where they stand. And they feel much more comfortable, confident, safe, and sound, and content, and all that good stuff. So, don't think you're being rough with your horse. You got to teach it rules. Having rules is not a bad thing. The horse absolutely has to have rules. And I don't care how young or old it is, this applies. The horse must have rules. There's got to be rules. And I said before that, one of the worst things you can do is spoil your horse. That is from what I've seen, that is equal to abuse. Because the horse gets out of hand, it becomes dangerous. Eventually nobody wants the horse, and then the horse has no future. And, well, horse has no future. There's nothing wrong with the horse, but it has no future because you spoiled it. You were too nice. And I've seen it happen firsthand where, and not to fault the person that did it, because I happen to know that that person was a very nice person. But unfortunately, they were too nice. And they were also like that with their horses. And basically, the horses trained them, and they didn't feel safe and comfortable. There was one horse they had, wasn't even rideable because the type of person that they were, they didn't make the horse feel comfortable and confident because they were too nice. They weren't strong enough. I could ride that horse. I rode that horse. I spent some time working with it, and I rode that horse. They were still scared to ride it. Well, probably with good reason, because that horse had a habit of flipping over backwards, and if you don't know anything about that, that can kill people. When a horse flips over backwards with a rider on it, you get 1,000 pounds landing on top of you, it can kill you. Especially if it happens to land with the saddle horn down on you, and depending on the horn, it can either break ribs or it can clear out, right, impale you if it's a skinny horn. And it has happened. More than once it has happened. So it's very important that the horse has rules, because that makes the horse feel more confident, and it makes it feel more comfortable, and it makes it feel safe. See how she's standing here quite happy to be here? Because I don't put up with crap from her. I'm not mean, I'm not rough, but I don't put up with crap. I got rules, and she knows it, and so she goes, oh, okay, I know where I stand. I feel good here. I like this place. That's how it works. So, there was something else just crossed through my mind a minute ago, and now I've forgotten it, but I see those big black clouds getting closer all the time, so I think I'm going to call it a day here and pack up my gear and get back in under the roof where the rain is not going to get me, and maybe watch some more horse training videos or something. We do spend our time that way, we're not above learning. I seek out people, although it's getting harder all the time to find people that know a significant amount more than I do. Most of my watch, they kind of reaffirm what I'm doing, that I'm on the right path, but I don't very often learn anything new. Kind of frustrating that way. But like I said, I'm actually willing to learn from you guys, because I'm sure that somebody out there knows something I don't know. In fact, I can pretty much guarantee that every single one of you watching my videos knows something. Maybe it's only one thing, but you know something I don't know, because your personal experiences in life and with your horse are such that they're not going to be the same as mine. No matter, even though I may have had quite a few more horses than you, my education's not the same as yours. It's different. But that said, I think we're going to cut her off there. And I don't know, clouds keep getting closer, not looking real nice. Wonder if we could squeeze in some time playing with that other little horse for a little while. I'd like to get something accomplished today, since it is in fact a holiday and a day off, and I've got the time. I hate to be hampered by weather like this. It's kind of unfortunate, but the big black clouds are getting closer. I gotta go. Sorry. Talk to you later, and have yourselves a good day. Bye now.